Testing 1, 2, 3. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. It is the 10th of July. It's 9 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. Central European Time. It's the end of another week of the bear market and another week closer to the bull run. Remember, we're going to have this for another few months. We've been saying since the start of the year that this bear market is probably going to play out the same way that every other bear market has played out. And that is what we're sticking to, because so far, and we're in July, we've been right since February. Now, that doesn't mean that we're blowing our own trumpets or we're Johnny Big Balls. It means that we just follow the patterns that Bitcoin follows in previous cycles and tell you about them. And I'm going to show you today exactly where Bitcoin is going to go in July, probably where it's going to go in August and September, and then hopefully where it's going to go towards the end of the year. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be in the beginning. We are going to be talking about a lot of other things today. We're going to be talking about Mika. Richard Teng of Binance was interviewed about Mika. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the FUD around Solana. There is no need, but we get FUD anyway. We're going to be talking about Hoodwinked. Robinhood Chain is live, and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and their CEO is the Messiah, allegedly. We're going to talk about stocks, tokenized stocks again. That's a topic that we're going to keep a very, very close eye on. We're going to be talking about gold, Bitcoin, or Trump. Now, somebody did a really cool article which said if you bought, don't know if it was $10,000 worth of gold, Bitcoin, and Trump coin at the start of Trump's presidency, how much would you have today from each? Fine topic. So we're going to cover that one as well. And then we're going to talk about Ascendix, which is a chain that's been flagged up by Zach XBT. It looks as if it's stopping people from withdrawing. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We're not going to bash them. We're just going to talk through some do's and don'ts that you should really be doing when you're sending your funds around Web3 or taking them off Binance or whatever else it might be. So that is kind of what we're going to cover today. We've got some X-Files, and of course we have the prices. I think the prices are not too bad today. I think in terms of what we have been saying for weeks, if we can hold $63,000 for the rest of the summer, this has been the weakest bear market on record. The weakest bear market on record. And what I mean by that is, we in theory could go to $40,000. That would be, what, a 70% correction, which would probably be fairly accurate based on previous cycles. But we've been saying on here for a very long time, I don't think that's going to happen. So we're at 64,000. We're in July. We're doing incredibly well. You might not think it because your altcoins are bleeding all over the place, but as far as Bitcoin is concerned, 64,000 in the summer holidays is a really good price. We are up a little bit over the 7 days. Ethereum is trying to get back above $1,800. That is going to be a massive challenge for Ethereum. The $1,600 to $1,800 range for Ethereum it's going to keep it chained down for a considerable period of time. And if we do break $1,800, the next range above takes us towards $2,000. And as for Bitcoin, we're going to talk about the Bitcoin prices that we can go to in about 10 minutes time. Tether, again, the greatest investment you'll ever make is at $1. We've got, hang on 1 second. What is going on here? That was weird. Let me do a quick refresh. Is there some skullduggery with CoinMarketCap? Let me just go back to the original link. There we go. Oh, don't tell me CoinMarketCap's broke. You just can't get the staff. You just can't get the staff, can you? Here I am, trying to do my best. There we go. That's better. Right. So let's go back to where we were. So Ethereum's got to break above $1,800. BNB needs to get back above $600. There's a lot of milestones on the way up and down for a lot of these coins. We're not going to go over them in detail because there's too many of them. But XRP, $1.14 is next. 600 for BNB. Solana will get back above $85 if we continue this. You've got Hype there at $68. That's clearly going to go back to what, 72, 75 was it? Doge, according to this list, which is a little bit different to CoinMarketCap, is now outside of the top 10. Doge is finished. Been telling you for a long time, Doge is finished. Zcash is down there. Cardano is down there. Cardano is falling like an absolute stone. Chainlink is under $8. What is going on? Shocking state of affairs. Right, gainers and losers. God knows what we're going to see on CoinGecko, but we'll have a little look. DEX is up 26%. Morpho is up 11.6%. There's a lot of projects that are up. Arbitrum. Why is Arbitrum up? Why is Morpho up? The reason is this. The Robinhood chain is live, and the Robinhood chain is built on Arbitrum. I made a video, let me see, a week ago, about the Robinhood chain and Maple Finance, and it didn't get many views. Some of the videos we do, which are very, very specific, don't get many views. But the takeaway is this. You have Arbitrum and you have Optimism as two layer 2s on Ethereum. And people use what's called the OP stack, the Optimism stack, to build their own layer 2. And Robinhood have decided to use the Arbitrum stack to build their blockchain on. Now, we're going to get onto the reasons for that in a second and why it's important to understand that. But Arbitrum take 9%, I think, 9% of all of the fees generated by Robinhood. 9% of the fees. So Arbitrum is up because all of that money goes straight into the DAO. It's not massive money yet, but it will grow. Morpho is up, I think, because Morpho is live on the Robinhood chain. So now you understand why those two chains are pumping randomly out of the blue. Zcash is up. Aave is up. Again, I think anything under $100 for Aave, under $90 for Aave is an absolute steal. So keep an eye on Aave as well. And there's a few other gainers as well down there that we don't want to talk about. Losers then over the last 24 hours. Aerodrome is down. Anything under $1 for Aerodrome is an absolute steal. You will thank me in a few years' time. Jupiter at 21 cents. That's probably down, I'd imagine, because, and I don't know if Solo Sky is watching, I know he has it. If you've got your Jupe staked with Jupiter, the Q2 claim is live. So I went and claimed my I think I got 260, 270 Jupe from Jupiter. Claimed that, automatically staked it. That's compounding. You're getting 20% a year on your Jupe just by staking it with Jupiter. So that's worth looking at, but I think that will come down in the next few days because people will be selling it off. Midnight is down. Nothing else really to talk about there. It's pretty much of a muchness, but the market being green is what we care about. Having a few green days to break up the red days is what it's all about. That's what it's all about. You can't have, and I've said this many, many times before, nothing in crypto will go up forever, and nothing in crypto of the major chains on the major protocols will go down forever in a bull and a bear market. You're going to see tokens go to zero, yes. But, and actually, before we get on to this, I just want to show you one other thing, because I talked about this a few weeks ago, and I think it's important to explain. I thought we'd seen the end of this. The Black Bull, Ansem. I thought we'd seen the end of this in crypto. I thought we've progressed. We have gone past that stage. So let's not have pump and dumps. And the Black Bull, which is the coin by Ansem, people were telling you when it was at 30 cents it was going to go to $1. People were telling you when it was at 40, 50 cents it was going to go to $2. And we are seeing a 50% drawdown already from where it is at the all-time high, which was the 7th, which was 3 days ago. If you catch these very specific meme coins, if you catch them down here and you get in, that's great. But you have to get out up here. Otherwise, you're gonna round trip it. It's gonna go up, and you're gonna follow it all the way back down. And then you're gonna come on here and say, "Oh, you know, I bought $100 worth of Ansem, and it ran up to $2,000." And I'm like, "Brilliant! Have you got $2,000 now?" Well, no, it's actually now worth $150. You've made $50. Congratulations. But you didn't make $2,000 because you held on to it because people were telling you on the internet that this was going to go to $1 and $2. This kind of stuff has no place in a civilized world where we have the BlackRocks and the financial institutions. It is amazing for getting eyes on your chain. And that's something else we're going to talk about when we talk about Robinhood, because I'm going to explain a tweet that I put out again later. But again, Black Bull, it did go up to almost 44 cents. It's at 22 cents now. What tends to happen in a pump and dump is it will rally, but this looks like a clear head and shoulders if you just see it on the screen. So be very careful of stuff like this because you're going to get wrecked and you lose all your money. Just be careful. Now, $4.7 trillion JP Morgan says the biggest risk to Bitcoin isn't strategy, but traditional finance creating private blockchains. What a load of utter BS. Load of crap. Load of rubbish. Where I agree with JP Morgan, had JP Morgan said this, JP Morgan says the biggest threat to existing layer ones isn't strategy and strategy-like projects, but traditional finance creating private blockchains. Had they said that, I would agreed with them wholeheartedly. The issue is, creating private blockchains does not give you access to the 2 billion people, 1 billion people, 500 million people that are going to be in or coming to crypto because they're private blockchains. If I was JP Morgan, if I was BlackRock, of course I'd have a private blockchain. Of course I would, because I'd want to control my own money. But if they want to tap into you and me, you need Ethereum and you need Solana and probably Robinhood and the likes of that. So this is the worst take you're ever going to get from JP Morgan, I think. There is absolutely zero risk to Bitcoin of private blockchains. Zero. Why? Because Bitcoin doesn't care about your private blockchain. And what is that private blockchain going to do that's going to impact on Bitcoin? How is it going to draw the eyes away from Bitcoin? What is going to potentially impact Bitcoin would be the growth of stablecoins, because people had this panacea in their head that everyone was going to use Bitcoin to send money back and forth between China, America, Russia, Japan, the UK. That was never going to happen. It was never going to happen. Do Japan, the UK, and America trade gold bars? No, they don't. Why not? Because they just don't. It's a store of value. Bitcoin is a store of value. However you want to wrap it up, however you want Jack Mellor, however you want these companies like Saylor and the other guy, I can't remember his name now, Phonely, I think he's called. However you want them guys to wrap it up for you, Bitcoin isn't really a payments rail. It has, of course, the Lightning Network. This is a terrible take. It's a terrible take. And one which you have to ignore because it is not true. Just because somebody says things on the internet, including me, it doesn't mean it's a reality, okay? Moving on then. The Clarity Act is going to drop next week. I've been trying to hold off posting about this and telling you about this because it's just a boring piece of legislation that will help crypto become adopted. Earlier this week, Eric Balchunas came out and said that the crypto bros were hanging their hats on Donald Trump's strategic Bitcoin reserve and hanging his hat on Michael Saylor, and you can't be reliant on these people. And that, again, is a bad take. If you have a coffee shop and Michael Saylor comes into your coffee shop and buys 50 coffees a week, or you're a coffee shop and Tom Lee comes in and buys 50 coffees a week, You can't just sit there and say, oh, you know what, we can't rely on those guys. We can't rely on that revenue because we have to just stick to our usual customers, is the old guy in the corner and then the two grannies that come in for the fish and chips. We've got to rely on them. We can't possibly take on board new people that buy Bitcoin. It's a terrible take. It's a terrible take. Nobody is saying that we think Bitcoin will need just ETFs and just Michael Saylor to go to $1 million. Nobody's ever said that. And if they did, they're idiots, okay? Now, the Clarity Act is not going to send Bitcoin to $300,000, but it is a way for Bitcoin and crypto to be legitimized in the eyes of currently the biggest economy in the world. So if you say, oh, well, we can't use that because we can't be reliant on it, it's a terrible take. We need the Clarity Act. We need the Genius Act. We need all of it because we need adoption, interoperability, and regulation. This allows for more regulation, which you might think is a terrible idea, but I think there is a balance to be had with regulation. So there you go. So it's going to come. We might get it by the end of the summer. That would be a good time to get it. Now, I'm going to bring this up because we have next week, and that's why I'm bringing this up, just in case you missed the show on Monday. You need to keep an eye on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. We have got the inflation data coming out of America on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Okay? Keep an eye on that. You've then got the Thursday and the Friday are slightly less important, but it's basically unemployment figures and housing figures. They are important on the grand scheme of things, but inflation is the number one. So next week could be fairly volatile when it comes to crypto. Now, moving on very quickly, I think Villain Bear said something in chat. I will get to that in a second, Villain Bear. You're on the graveyard shift today. I think it's you, Hidden Agendas, and Kishan. That's it. I think that's all we've got. Now, we covered this a week ago, last Saturday on the Maple Finance stream. We talked about Syrup USDG. I was saying it's going to become the third biggest product that they've got. And when I mean it will become the third biggest product they've got, there is already a third one, but it's not stable. It's not a dollar yielding asset like this. They've already reached $200 million in value. Only on the 7th, which was 2 days earlier, they hit 100 million. It's the fastest growing the fastest growing dollar yield asset that they have on their books. Now, just to put it into comparison, another one of their dollar yielding assets is nearly 3 billion, which is USDC. The USDC dollar yielding asset is about $1 billion. This is easily probably going to go to, I'd say, $1 billion to $2 billion within the next 6 months, maybe. So keep an eye on that. You basically buy this token. You don't touch it. It appreciates in value. That's why it's called a dollar yielding asset. You don't need to stake it or lock it up. But that is good news. It's nice to see adoption is coming. Absolutely. Right. Before we get onto this, what has Villain Bear had to say for himself? The Iran-US war is back on again. The Strait of Hormuz closed again. Repeat everything again. What happened over the last 3 months again? Well, we'll see. We'll see. I think Donald Trump is being... I think his playbook worked for about a year, which is say something massively controversial, shake the markets up, and then come out with something which isn't anywhere near as bad. And that's the playbook from his book, The Art of the Deal, which he put out in the 70s. You read that book, you understand Donald Trump. I think now a lot of people are looking at it going, well, you haven't sorted this out. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. You're in a bit of a situation. That's the way he is at the minute. So I think people are starting to lose. I think he's starting to lose a lot of credibility in the eyes of his foes. But because of his size, the usual crowd, which is Europe and Germany and France and the UK, they're still towing the line like little puppies, which is a shame. Now, AI fact check. This is really quite cool. It's on Binance. Stop guessing what's real. You can instantly verify headlines and view trusted sources in real time on Binance Square. Again, this is important. Villain Bear could come into chat and say something, and I could repeat it on the stream. And he could be wrong, and then I could be repeating more incorrect information. And that is pretty much what I think AI is going to be useful for. The only thing we need to be careful of with AI, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. The only thing we need to be careful of with AI is, of course, who controls what is the truth. So you've got to be careful of. Good morning. So we've got Simon in chat. That makes 3 of you over there on the Rest of the World site. Now, I'm glad you are here for this bit. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring something up to show you something that I did. I'm going to show you 2 clips of videos that I've made. Was this the worst bull run in history? Now, that depends on your definition. Is it the best bull run in history, or is it the worst bull run in history? That is the question. Because we didn't get the all-time high we wanted, 150, 200,000, but we also haven't so far seen the ultimate crash to $40,000 or $50,000. So let me put this to you. If we didn't spike in October, we didn't get crushed so far in June, the next bull run is set up to be an amazing bull run. So statistically, we went from $15,000 or $16,000 to $126,000. What's that, an 8x? That's pretty good. If you're talking about your altcoins got absolutely butchered. Now then, this is what I'm here to show you. I called Gary Stevenson a fraud. And I called Gary Stevenson and Zach Polanski's idea for a wealth tax stupid 7 months ago. And what happened is, and this is altcoins have died, absolutely. I'm going to give you a little bit of a chat about this because it's very relevant to crypto. And so you've heard of soundbite politics. Donald Trump, make America great again. Soundbite politics. What are your policies? Make America great again, right? So it's a soundbite. It's a singular line that people use, like take our country back. Make our country great again. It's a soundbite. Gary Economics is very much like your favorite Coles in crypto, and that's why I'm talking to you about him. This guy has managed to grow a YouTube channel, appear on national television, appear on international television, get his own TV documentary without anyone ever nailing him down on his actual policies. Now, in crypto, you get these people, Michael Saylor, Tom Lee, and they come on and they go, there was an alt season in August. Wasn't a great alt season, but it was in August. So Gary Stevenson, your favorite call, Tom Lee, Michael Saylor, they go on these podcasts and you get this very nice guy and he'll say, or very nice girl, and he'll say, so tell me about strategy. Well, that's wonderful. How else does it work? And it's a glorified advert. It's a glorified advert. And I grew up, because I'm very old, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, where people would come on TV and they would be taken to task. And what that means is they'd be challenged. And that challenge should be, how are you going to implement this policy? How are you going to get Bitcoin to do this? Why are you doing this? If you're so clever, why did you buy Ethereum at $5,000 when you probably knew you were going to be in a bear market and you could buy it for $1,600? Why didn't you just sit on all that money and buy the Bitcoin and Ethereum today? If you're that clever and you knew that we would have a bear market this year and June was likely to be the bottom, if you knew that, why on God's green earth did you buy Bitcoin at $125,000? Have you seen an interview like that in crypto? No. Because we are in a generation of sound bites. And this gentleman on your screen has been destroyed in his own documentary by pretty much everybody that has watched it. If you put Saylor or Tom Lee or any one of your favorite calls in a room with an intelligent person that has a counter argument, you then see their mettle. Because 3 questions in to Gary or Michael Saylor or Tom Lee, 3 questions in, if they're still fighting back, they know what they're talking about. I'm not saying that we should character assassinate them. I'm not saying we should get them on a show and just belittle them. What I'm saying is you should challenge him. Challenge him. The only person I've ever seen challenge Michael Saylor was Ben Cowan, and he challenged him. And Michael Saylor ran off on a 5 to 10 minute monologue on why this, why that, why the other. And in the end, Ben Cowan was right, because even Saylor himself said there's a place for Ethereum. So Saylor was wrong. But Ben wasn't in that position to be able to challenge him. This is the problem that you have got when you are trying to understand crypto. You see people like me, and the only challenge I get is from people like Villain Bear or Simon or anyone that comes into chat that says something different from me. And then I will put a counter argument in place. That guy there is the epitome of soundbite economics. The Saylors and the Tom Lees, unless they are challenged by a professional, and I don't mean Peter Schiff, I mean they get challenged by a professional on their numbers, that they can then stack up against that and you can watch a debate. When was the last time you saw a debate of real people with real intelligence on TV? You probably haven't. It's probably Love Island. It's probably all you get nowadays on TV. But Gary's economics has been absolutely toasted by everybody. And I made those videos about him a year and a half ago. It was actually March last year I made that first video. And I called him a fraud a year and a half ago. And a year and a half later, with his own documentary, his own best-selling book, his own appearances on Piers Morgan, he's been found out. And that is how you should call out BS. Because I was not popular for that video. If you read the comments underneath that video, I was not a popular person. I was a very, very nasty person. I was part of the cabal. I was somebody that was there to try and take him down because I worked for the elites, or I was an elite. Mary did miss an epic quiz, indeed. Higher or lower? We're going to go higher, but I'm going to show you in a minute. Crypto Quant says Bitcoin rebound remains a bear market recovery, not a trend reversal. We're actually going to get onto the news now. It's about time we got onto some news. This is from Yogita Khatri, who has got an amazing name. Yogita is a beautiful name. Crypto Quant said Bitcoin's recent rebound should be viewed as a bear market recovery rather than a trend reversal, as its bull score index remains in bearish territory. The rebound has been supported by historically strong July seasonality and recovering Bitcoin demand, the firm said. Absolutely. Now, we could go through this, or I could just, because I've been talking for so long, I could just bring up the chart. Now, let me explain something. This is the chart, the same chart I've been showing you all year, with the same lines all year. I have receipts. Go and find them. Go and watch them. Now, this is on the daily. So I'm not going to teach you to suck eggs. I'm going to explain what I think is going to happen. We broke down. We got rejected at the bull market support band. We put in a new low. We got rejected at the bull market support band. We put in a new low. We wiggled and we fought to get back to the bull market support band. And then we put in a new low. So what do you think happens next in this grey out area? Because this is the bear market, roughly the length of the bear market. What we are going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is we are going to go back to the bull market support band, I believe. And we're going to get rejected again. And then the question is, do we hold this bottom line, or do we go to this number down here, which is 50,000? I don't think that's my number, by the way. I think my number is a little bit higher. I think I'm about here, 50,400. So I don't know if we hold 63 or we go to 50, but I can tell you the move. And the move is up to the bull market support band again. July, historically, very green. Then we will have our summer holiday drop, where we then have to see if we go to 50 or hold 63,000. Now, there's loads of numbers on the way between 63 and 50. Of course, there's 60. The Oracle's got 57 or 56. There's a 54,000 in there, and there's a 50,000 in there. So we've got a lot of things to hit on the way down. But the point of the matter is, we are following, because we're in a bear market, we're following the same pattern, which is rejection, 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 rejection. It's what happens. And then the question is, do we put in a new low or do we hold the existing low? Because this, I thought would hold for a while, but if you look over here, we actually put in a new low. So we're in a bear market. I am not going to flip bullish until we hit November. November is when I will turn bullish. November the 6th, if you want a precise date, that's when I'm going to turn bullish. And even then, if Trump gets annihilated in the midterms, I might not turn that bullish. But there we go. Follow the Bitcoin ETF. Monetarist institutions determine Bitcoin flow up or down. We cover that on a Monday. We've got the Bitcoin ETFs here, and we do cover that. But although you are right to some respect, visually it's very easy to show people. So if you look at this period down here where we are red, we actually didn't drop until a little bit into these red blocks on the way down. We didn't really drop. So when we flash green, and we've had 3 green days, we now need to see if today and Monday and Tuesday are going to be green days, because that could show the reversal back towards 69, 70,000. But if the day starts showing red, it means we're going to struggle at 63, 64,000, and we're going to come down again. So it is a good indicator that's kind of flashed up. Anyway, so there you go. That's what's going to happen with Bitcoin, as far as I can see. 69,000 and rejection, 70,000 and rejection around there. Binance CEO says Mika is backfiring as users move beyond regulators' reach. This was pretty much expected. I think the problem with regulation is you need to be able to regulate to open a market up. And what the EU have done is they've regulated to lock a market down. And their mentality is wrong. And they're not going to fix it. The EU needs a massive overhaul. The EU is absolutely cooked. There is no worse place in the world right now for policy making than Europe. They are strangling the life out of everything in that block. Low growth, over-regulation, tampering with things that they need to stay out of. They are destroying themselves from within. Now, I'm not saying MiCA is a bad idea. I think MiCA is a good idea. Pass the legislation, get the license, 27 countries, whichever one you're registered in, you've got access to the entire market. It's not a bad idea. But this is MiCA 1. Wait till we get to MiCA 5, MiCA 4, MiCA 6, when they start to regulate how much you're allowed to buy of Bitcoin on a daily basis, how much you're allowed to hold in your wallets, how much you're allowed to do things. Why should they dictate to you how much you hold of anything? It is not regulation at that point, it is control. And that, my friends, is the problem. Because you see these conspiracy theorists with their little tinfoil hats, and they'll come on here and they'll say, Europe is China 2.0. And you'll laugh at them. But if you go away and you look, if you look at what they actually do, they are very much like a surveillance nation. They are very much like a control nation. So you can argue the case that they are like China 2.0. I don't want to go as far as saying they're like China 2.0. But tomorrow, if you gave Europe the option of having retina scanning, fingerprints, a fully set up Euro CBDC controlled by the ECB, if you gave them all of that, if you gave them carbon emissions data, so you get a carbon allowance, if you gave them all of that tomorrow and said, you can have this tomorrow, they would snap your hand off. Did you vote for that? Because as far as I'm aware, you didn't. So MiCA falls into the category of it's really good, it's a net good right now, but it's not what it's going to do today, it's what's going to happen and go wrong in the future. And Richard Teng has pointed out the obvious. 70% of the money that was in exchanges in the EU is now sitting in self-hosted wallets. 3/4 almost of all the money that's in Europeans' hands that they wanted to go to a European exchange is now in a self-custody wallet. That's the unintended consequence of what they're trying to do. They are trying to control crypto, and the point of crypto is you can't control it. They want to bring in regulations on US dollar stablecoins in the EU. You're not in control of the dollar. You're trying to control the dollar now. You're going to go up against America, are you? 30% of withdrawn assets went to MiCA licensed platforms, said Richard Teng. He argues stricter rules push activity beyond regulators' oversight. How is he wrong? How is he wrong? If I'm in Europe, which I'm not, thankfully, if I'm in Europe or within the MiCA license area, and somebody said to me, you are now going to have to be with a MiCA compliance exchange, my funds would move offshore at the drop of a hat. Not because I'm trying to avoid or evade or anything like that, but I don't want it to happen because, again, there's nothing to stop the EU in the near future forcing exchanges to freeze your account. There's nothing stopping MiCA and the EU from forcing you to pay maybe fines and taxes from your crypto balance. There's nothing to stop them doing that in the future because they're just going to keep passing rule after rule after rule. And it's not about freedom anymore, is it? It's about control. It's not about regulation anymore. It's about control. You've got to be very careful with these things. I am sure the guy that split the atom would never have told anybody what he had done had he known the consequences, the unintentional consequences of what he did and what it led to. And MiCA is great now. And we're not talking about now, I'm talking about in 5 to 6 years' time. Is MiCA going to stay as it is? Or is it going to become MiCA 2, MiCA 3, MiCA 4, to the point where all of the exchanges that are in Europe are jumping through hoops, enforce regulation? Who pays for all of that? You do, because the fees will go up, so you lose. So who wins? The EU doesn't win because people flee. Self-custody carries the bigger risk. He's absolutely right. Once it goes to a self-hosted wallet, the risks amplify. You don't have AML, KYC. You also can get hacked. You can lose all of your money. Any new projects I've got my eyes on? I should actually keep an eye on chat, shouldn't I? I'll answer that in 1 second. Regulators gain more by licensing compliant firms than driving activity beyond their view. Exactly. That's the point. Just have everybody in Europe with a loose set of rules that they can all follow. He's absolutely right. Anyway, we better move on because we're going to absolutely run out of time, and I don't want to do that on a Friday and keep you any longer. In answer to Simon's question, he said in chat, any new projects you have your eyes on? The ones that I think are going to come next are the ones that can port their projects over to the Robinhood chain, number one, and then any subsequent chains which come along. So, Revolut, Robinhood, I don't know, eToro, for example, any app, fintech app, that launches its own layer 2 chain with built-in earn mechanisms. So that's one of the things that Robinhood has got. So I would be looking at Aave and Morpho. I would be looking at maybe Pendle. I would be looking at the big yield generating projects. They're the big ones. I'm not an AI narrative person right now. I've got my AI picks, the big ones. There's things that come and go. Hype will probably end up losing some market share, but I still think it's going to go up in value. I would focus on revenue and profit generating businesses, unless you want to flip a coin and then you go onto Robinhood and you buy 10 different meme coins. maybe. But we saw what happened with Black Bull. It's now down 50% from its all-time high. So I'd say Morpho, Aave, definitely those two. Definitely those two. Trading volume for Solana has fallen to 2026 lows as record negative sentiment raises the possibility of a surprise market reversal. I was not aware of this. Solana's recovery appears to have lost momentum after it shed 6% in the past week as it trades near $77 and it's facing the most negative market sentiment of 2026. Has it? Who wrote this? Where did you get this article from? Are you... I don't believe this person. I think this person has been told to write this, but there we go. Solana's trading volume has dropped to its lowest point in 2026. Kel surprise were at the bottom of the bear market, while negative commentary surrounding the asset has surged to its highest daily level this year, according to Sentiment. The disappointment comes from expectations that strong narratives around tokenized stocks and real-world assets would translate into stronger price performance, something traders have yet to see. Not yet. It's not going to have an impact yet. The combination of elevated fear, uncertainty, and doubt, weak trading volume, the Solana network added 1.6 million new addresses over the past 2 weeks. Hang on. So it's trading at all-time lows, but it's generated 1.6 million addresses. Now, if 1.5 million of those addresses are agentic AI trading bots, great. If it's 1.6 million real people, great. If it's 1.6 million people who have moved their funds out of Mika to self-custody, great. None of those things are bad for Solana. The Solana network added the 1.2, the super trend indicator on Sol's 3-day chart flashed a new buy signal for the first time since October. This is a schizophrenic article. Michelle van der Pop noted that the crypto asset has re-entered its trading range, may briefly pull back. 75 to 77 is support. Door is open to $100 and $120. Dami DeFi. Never heard of them. Pointed to a potential breakout as Sol currently tests the upper boundary of a descending triangle, been in place since September. I have no idea what that person was trying to say in there, but I will say this. Solana and Ethereum are going to win. Solana and Ethereum have the volume, the liquidity, the projects, the individuals, the assets, the eyes, the momentum. Solana and Ethereum will win. I've been saying this for 3 years. Even when everybody was saying Ethereum is dead in the water and it's crap and Vitalik needs to do something, it is not going anywhere anytime soon. Of course, if they make a monumental hash of something and the users leave in droves, then of course. But they're not going to go anywhere in the next 3 or 4 years. Right, okay. I'll add to my question. Non-crypto projects and Chronos projects. Any non-crypto projects I've got my eyes on? I would say I was looking at energy storage as a big one. Energy storage. So battery makers, ways of storing energy, not necessarily solar panels, not necessarily wind farms, but energy storage would be one. And the second one is Jaguar. Is it Jaguar? Rolls-Royce? I think it's Rolls-Royce, actually, not Jaguar. They are creating mini nuclear reactors. You've then got fusion technology. The UK is building the world's first fusion reactor on scale. So I'd look at energy. I think energy is going to be the big one. Look at all the AI data centers being built. Where's that energy come from? Donald Trump said the other day that these AI data centers are going to need more power than currently exists in America. So I'd look at energy and energy storage. And if you find any good ones, let me know. But look at Rolls-Royce as well. Kronos projects are all down big. Kronos is down big as a whole. I put a tweet out about this. In fact, I'll show you what I said about that because I think it's only fair. I'm not gonna be a keyboard warrior. If I say something, I unfortunately say it with this face. Robinhood has launched. There are 3 things that have made Robinhood a success from day one: memes, community hype, and the CEO. Those 3 things have caused what's happened on Robinhood. That's the growth in Robinhood. It's not massive. It's not huge. It's not billions like Solana. It's not billions like Ethereum. It's going to fade, but it's not going to fade to zero. Okay, maybe doing $400 million a day, $500 million a day in the first week, absolutely fantastic. If it holds at $50 to $100 million a day, it's a good chain. So I would say Metal Company, I've not heard of them. What I would say is that if you are any chain trying to launch right now, you need to basically, it's not the Robinhood playbook, by the way, it's the base playbook. Robinhood have taken the base playbook. So you want to look at what base did right, you want to look at what Robinhood has done right, and that's where you want to go with that. I'm getting notifications. Okay, people are joining there. Good. If you want to follow us with more regularity than this, we've got a Binance chat room. So go to our Binance account and you'll see a button there called chat room. Click on that and come and join us. Right, Robinhood tops 560 million in daily DEX volume, fueled by meme coin boom. 16,000 new tokens, $560 million. Pump.fun has got in on the action. Solana traders don't require bridging either. It's in a burst of activity. Daily active addresses are approaching 200,000, with 140 of these as first-time trading addresses. The wave has accelerated creation, 16,000 tokens. 7 of them have more than $1 million. Cashcat, which was the original name of Robinhood, that broke the $100 million market cap. Again, be careful. Don't just jump onto Robinhood chain and buy a ton of tokens and think they're all going to go to $100 million. The 16,000 were created and 7 have been a success. You do the odds. That is about, let's say for argument's sake, that is 1 in 2,300 chance. 1 in a 2,300 chance of you picking a coin that will run. They are your odds, okay? But Cashcat was going to be the one that was going to run because it's the previous name. As we said at the very beginning of the show, I said 9%, it's 10%. 10% of the fees generated on the Robinhood chain go to Arbitrum. That's why Arbitrum is pumping. Morpho is also connected up, as is Maple Finance. They're connected up to the Robinhood Earn, and they are probably going to pump as a result of that. So I think one of the differences between, say, Robinhood and maybe when Base started or a few others started, Robinhood went live with 2 distinct markets. An earn market, where you earn on your stables and you can buy Syrup USDG and all that kind of good stuff, which pays you probably about 4.5% to 5%. And then they went live with Hype. They didn't just go live with Hype. There is some real ground first yield opportunities with Morpho. So I would keep an eye on them. Arbitrum will do really well. I think it's going to be a short-term spike in the price of Arbitrum because people are buying it on the speculation that the volume just keeps going up on Robinhood and therefore the fee's going to go to Arbitrum. I don't think that's the case. It might be the case for the next few weeks, but I would short Arbitrum from maybe a few weeks, certainly. But again, copy the Robinhood playbook and be a success. So, Sagem F. I will go and look at Sagem F. Right, tokenized stocks saw 279%, 3.4 billion record. Two networks lead the charge. Okay, now we already know what's going to be in this article, don't we? Because we've already told you which two chains are going to win. Momentum across tokenized stocks accelerated sharply in June. Investors increasingly embraced blockchain rails for trading traditional stocks. Monthly trading volume reached 3.4 billion, up almost a 3x and 1,400% over the last year. The SpaceX tokenized IPO dominated and Solana's market share also drove the growth. Monthly tokenized stock volume on blockchain. That's a big green bar that won't actually fit on my screen because of all of these adverts that are there. Now, a great website for you to use is this one. Again, no association with anything that we talk about on here like this. This is called Real World Assets. It's rwa.xyz. This gives you a breakdown of pretty much everything. You've got all of your different asset classes on the left-hand side. If you want to go and you want to learn about real-world assets, this is a really good place to start. A really good place to start. You can drill down stable coins. You've got stocks. You've got credit, which obviously Maple Finance falls under. You've got the distributed value. You can see them down here. Ondo is leading the way, 47% market share. Xstocks has 25% market share. Between them, almost 3/4 of the market are Ondo and Xstocks. But you also have the likes of Binance, which reached $1 billion worth of stocks within 30 days. So the centralized exchanges are getting in on the action as well as DeFi, but that's a good place to start. Now back to what we're talking about. The tokenized funds are in two separate places. Tokenized stocks are in two separate places, and they are, because I'm going to have to move on a little bit with this to try and catch up, Ethereum and Solana. Ethereum and Solana. You could have asked me this a year ago. You could have asked me this 2 years ago. I would have said Ethereum and Solana. When people say, oh, well, you know, Solana's only $77 and Ethereum's only $1,700 and they've got all the stocks, so shouldn't they be doing incredibly well? Shouldn't they be like at $5,000 and $250? No. Look at the volume or size of the market for tokenized stocks. 33.5 billion in distributed asset value. 369 billion in represented asset value, less than 1 million holders, and 300 billion in stable coins. When you see the real world asset market, excluding stable coins, at $1 trillion, Solana and Ethereum will be benefiting hugely from that, as will the likes of Morpho, Aave, Ondo, Maple Finance, and the like. This is such a small percentage of the market it's going to be, and I've been telling you this as well on the Q2 call with Sid and with Joe. They were basically saying that the market is going to grow 20x in the next 3 years. The real world asset market, not them, but as a market, it's going to grow 20x in the next 3 years. This number is insignificant. When we start to see $700, $800, $900 billion, that's when the likes of Solana and Ethereum and maybe Robinhood Chain, maybe that is when you're going to see the real value. And until then, we are talking in small billions, single digit billions. It's small, but it won't be small forever. And if let's say Sid is wrong. Let's say it doesn't go to $1 trillion. Let's say it goes to 500 billion. Let's say he's out by 50%. That's what from here? 13x? 14x? 15x? 16x? 16x. 16x from here. 15x from here. Whatever it might be. Anyway. It's still going to do multiples from where we are. Even if it doesn't go to $1 trillion, it's still going to do multiples. You're still going to win by looking at companies that provide tokenized stocks, tokenized real-world assets. Ondo, Maple Finance. Then you're going to look at Morpho, Aave, Pendle. Over on Solana, maybe you look at Camino Finance, maybe you look at some of the DEXs over there as well. But that's the kind of direction, proven direction, that we can live with. Because everything else to do with AI, I'll sneeze again. Everything else to do with AI is all speculation. We don't need to speculate about real world assets because we know what they are. They already exist. It's a surety. It's a surety. Now, this is going to be my favorite article I have done in a while. Now, I just want to also, I'm going to do a TLDR on one of my own videos because these two things are kind of related. Kind of related. Not the same, but related. And I want to bring them both up because I want to talk through this article. Because this article for me is a really good way to demonstrate how you have to be in the market for a long time. So, okay, I am prepared. That required a little bit of setup. Right then, so here we go. Let's start with the article and then I'll go on to my clip from my video. If you invested $10,000 in Bitcoin, Trump meme coin, and gold when Trump took office, what would you have today? Now, in chat, you're all going to know, because you're all fairly knowledgeable because you watch me all the time, which one of the three do you think is going to be the one where you will have made, or not, maybe not necessarily made, which of those three do you think is the one where you will have gained or lost the least? Would you be up if you bought Bitcoin when it came in? Would you be up if you bought the meme coin or gold? Which one? Let me know in chat, and I will have to go and actually read the chat on Binance to see what you've said, but I'll get to that. We'll go through this article while you're doing it. Right. Had you bought in January 2025, Bitcoin was at 109,000. We already know where this is going to go. Gold is $2,700. And Trump coin is at $35. So that's your starting position. We already know where you're going to end up. So in a year and a half since Trump came in, a year and whatever, 8 months, we all know what the answer is going to be to this. Bitcoin has come down to $5,880 in that 18-month period. Gold has gone from $10,000 to $15,248 in the same time. And Trump coin has gone from $10,000 to $430. Do you ever head up towards Marbella? Very occasionally, very occasionally. It's quite hard to get out of Gib these days because of the border, but the border's going to be going soon. So it'd be a lot easier to get up towards Marbella and Porto Banús and that neck of the woods. Tariq has said gold, and Tariq would be absolutely right. And I can't be bothered opening up the rest of the chats because we're running out of time. So basically, gold would be up had you bought in January 2025. Now, that's a really myopic way of looking at things. The interesting thing about this one is, if you go back in time, I will have said, and I remember saying it, if you buy a Trump meme coin, because they're all the rage, sell it the day he becomes the president of America. So the day this tells you to buy is the day I told you to sell. Just putting that out there, because now it's down 96%. Bitcoin was always going to put in its all-time high. I said November, it was October. Bitcoin was always going to put its all-time high in at the end of this year, 2025, and then go into a bear market now. So of course it's going to be down. But technically speaking, you're down 41%. It isn't actually that bad. Donald Trump has decided to drop a lot of ammunition in a lot of different places in the world in the last 18 months, and gold is a risk-off asset. It's a store of value. It's a flight to safety. So gold, of course, is going to go up. Now, I have done this. And this is a little video that I did called basically, there's an old wives' tale. My head's in the way, isn't it? Let me move that down a bit. Right. I did an old wives' tale yesterday. Put the video up. And the old wives' tale is this. If you hold Bitcoin for 4 years, you will be in profit. That was the old wives' tale. And that's the old wives' tale that I've known about for about 4 or 5 years. So it's not something that's been around for a day or a month or whatever. It's not a new thing. It's an old thing. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to put that to the test. If you hold Bitcoin for 4 years, are you in profit? So what we did was we dollar cost averaged in from the 1st of January 26, 25, 24 and 23. And of course, we're in the bear market. So it wasn't necessarily the best time to do this type of video, but I wanted to do it anyway because it's a bit of fun. Now, the interesting thing is this. If you've bought Bitcoin in the last 3 years and you've dollar cost averaged in since January 2024, you are actually down today. But if you go back 4 years, the average price of Bitcoin is $40,700. So you're up 55%. But in the video, which I go on to talk about later on here, in my video, I actually talk about the fact that is a 55% return on Bitcoin in that time, considering the volatility of the asset, is that sufficient to warrant you buying it and dollar cost averaging in? And all the video says at the very end is this. If you buy Bitcoin, you're not getting rich quick. If you're buying Bitcoin and you're 22 years of age, so I don't know how old Villain Bear is in chat. I think he's probably a little bit younger than Tariq. I don't know how old Simon is in chat or Hidden Agendas. I don't know how old any of you guys are. Let's say you're all 25 years of age. I would buy Bitcoin today and every other day for the next, every other week, sorry, for the next 15 years. And at 40 years of age, I would be expecting to retire. That's what I would do. The short-termism of society is ruining your later years, ruining you when you get into your 40s and your 50s, because you don't think that far ahead because somebody wants to sell you a TikTok. So if you're 20, aim to retire at 40. If you're 35, aim to retire at 50, right? Have yourself a 10 to 15 year plan. I've made videos about this for the subscribers over on the Rest of the World site in the past. I've made video about this. Ignore the noise. If you're in your house today and you own your house, and let's say your house is worth £100,000 and your mortgage is £80,000. Now let's say that there is a house crash where you are. The value of your house falls and your house is worth $83,000. Are you going to sell your house the day it goes to $83,000? No, you're not. You buy Bitcoin, or your dollar cost in averaging into Bitcoin at $110,000, and there's a market crash and it goes to $60,000. Do you sell your Bitcoin at $60,000? No, you don't. Your house is a long-term store of value. I'm sick of these people telling you not to buy your own house. It's the worst advice ever. Maybe in America, fine. Not the rest of the world. You hold your house. You might sell it when you're 50 to move to a nice place, to do whatever it might be. You hold your house for 20 years, 30 years. It'll appreciate in value maybe 3%, 5%, 6% a year, whatever it works out as. Bitcoin should be viewed in the same way you view your house. It doesn't matter what the price is today because you're not selling it today. You're selling your house in 2040. You're selling your Bitcoin in 2040. And you're going to move somewhere nice and sunny where you can drink coconut water on the beach every morning and you can relax. That's what you do. You don't buy Bitcoin today and worry that it's $64,500 and you worry that it's going to go to $60,000 or $62,000 next week. It's a wrong mentality because you're not going to sell it next week. You buy your Bitcoin today and more than likely it's going to be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a Bitcoin in 10 to 15 years' time. That's why you buy it today. Does it matter if it's 60, 50, 55? No, it doesn't. It doesn't even matter if you bought it at $100,000. Dollar cost average in. After 4 years, you're in profit. And you're not just in profit a little bit, you're in profit a lot. And then you don't need to worry about it. So don't listen to what people tell you about, oh, you don't buy it today, it's going to go to $59,000 next week. Okay, but I'm not going to sell it till it's $400,000, so I don't see what the difference is. Don't see how that matters. Dollar cost averaging in gives you an average price. And as that video showed you, your average price over 4 years would be $40,700. But the question you've got to ask yourself is, are you in it for 4 years? Are you in it for 8 years? Are you in it for 20 years? That's what matters. Danny is acting like he's 25. I'm going to be sending you something after this stream, Danny. Houses are more like 500, 600k. I'm going to tell you a little story. We got our house and we paid an absolute small fortune for our house. And this is where the story always starts with people. You pay a small fortune for your house, and my house is now worth 3 times what I paid for it 22 years ago. 22 years ago, this September, I bought my house, and it killed me. The mortgage killed me. And it's now worth 3 times what I paid for it. Now, doesn't necessarily mean I'm a multimillionaire from that. What I mean is over 20 years, it's gone up by it's gone up from, say, 100,000 to 300,000. I've made a decent return on the house, and that should be the case wherever you are. So they are expensive. They are expensive, Simon, indeed. Now, I'm not going to put too much into this because it's 12:06. What I would say about this is I'm not having a dig at Ascendex because we're streaming on Binance, so I've got to be very respectful about what I say. But in a bear market, you need to close ranks. And in a bear market, you need to go and you need to have a flight. It will go up, there's no space in Jib, there isn't. There is always the exchanges and businesses that basically live on the edge. What I mean by that is that their income is spent, and any detrimental drop in income will cause them to be in a debt, and that's when everything goes horribly wrong. So, it's not about Ascendix, it's about you having any of your money on another small exchange. And what they will do is they will say to you, right, if you bring your Bitcoin or Ethereum to our exchange, we're going to give you 4% per annum. And you're going to go, oh, I've heard of this one. This is called Binance X. I'm going to go to Binance X because they're paying 4.5%. They're not paying you 4.5%. They're trying to get your Bitcoin and your Ethereum. Not because they're going to steal it from you, because they want the assets under management and they want all of those kind of good things. So it's not a dig at anybody in particular, but in a bear market, my advice is simple. You put your funds on one of the top 5 exchanges in the world. And that is what you do. You make sure that your KYC and AML and everything else is all up to date. Don't do anything stupid. And then you keep your funds somewhere safe. And then when the bull run comes and everyone's making bags of cash, you can go and play with your small exchanges. Maybe they have trading offers on where you trade so much you get free tokens. Maybe they've got their own token ICO, whatever it might be. But this is not the time to play with a small exchange. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say put your funds on Binance. I'm going to say put your funds on a big exchange. Anybody can go to CoinMarketCap and get the list of the top exchanges. Only go with one of the first 5 or 6. All you've got to do for at least the next 6 months to 12 months minimum, just keep your funds there. That's all you got to do. Because as Richard Seng was pointing out, yes, there is people who are fleeing to their own wallets, but they're not going to keep them there forever. What they'll likely do is find a non-KYC, non-AML exchange and move the funds onto there, which will be a small exchange like Ascendix or something like that. And what they will do is they're going to give you some kind of massive offer. Deposit $10,000 and we're going to give you $2,500 for free. Nothing's free. That $2,500 doesn't magically come out of thin air. So be careful. That's all I'm going to say. And that is pretty much it for this Friday, isn't it? Now, we are not streaming this Saturday. We streamed last Saturday. I stream every other Saturday on Binance. We do our Maple Finance stream. So next Saturday, the one after, I'll be talking about Maple Finance. That's the next Maple Finance giveaway as well. We did the quiz on Wednesday, which was not only disaster, it's probably the best thing we've ever done. Everything went wrong. I had to do a TED Talk on Maple Finance off the top of my head while the Oracle tried to fix the quiz. The quiz went live. The quiz didn't work. It was a disaster. We ended up giving money away on Spin the Wheel. We had 140 people from Binance and about 10 people from the rest of the world. We then decided to give the rest of the world some spins of their own. I specifically said, I don't want Coin Baron or Villain Bear to win. And the two people that came out of the hat were Coin Baron and Villain Bear. That just added to the chaos. On top of the fact that we won our own Spin the Wheel, not once, but twice. Great fun on Wednesday night. If you're going to watch anything, watch the last 20 minutes of that stream. It was hilarious. Watch it on Binance, watch it on the rest of the world. It was the funniest thing we've ever done. So this week comes to a close. Monday, I am back. I might be doing a sneaky Sunday stream. Been asked to do a stream on Sunday. I might do a stream on Sunday. But the big one, ladies and gentlemen, and the reason that I haven't gone full screen is this. This is all that matters in your life. Not Bitcoin, not Binance. This is all that matters. We need your thoughts and prayers to defeat the Vikings. We've been invaded once and it wasn't nice. We're playing Norway on Saturday night. Pray for England. We want to get to the semi-final to beat Argentina and revenge the hand of God. And then we want to get to the final against the French. And we know what happens when it's England versus France. They surrender. We know that. So we're going to get to the final. France will surrender. England will win the World Cup. And I will be super happy. I'm even going to put 2 stars on our streams if we win the World Cup. So make sure to tune in for that. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of this stream. I will see you all. Tariq will watch it. Good. I hope we enjoy it together, Tariq. We're streaming it live, by the way. So if you can't watch it, we have a place where we're streaming it. England to win, says Danny. I hope so. I mean, I do like Norway, but I just don't think they're very good. This is the weakest World Cup we've had, in my opinion. If you took any team from 98 or 2002 or 1994, if you took any team from that era and you put them into this tournament, if you took the great France, the great Brazil, not even the great France, the French or the Brazilians, you put any of them into this tournament and they're going to beat everybody. I think the England side with Scholes and Beckham and Shearer would win this tournament. That's how weak these sides are. And then you get Mbappe, you get Yamal, who hasn't turned up. You get Mbappe, who turns up. You've got Bellingham. There's probably 6 decent players in 48 teams in this World Cup. Anyway, this is not a football stream. This is a crypto stream. So thank you all for tuning in. See you all. I'm streaming on Sunday. I don't know what time. It's a sneaky stream. And I can't tell you why, but it's going to be a crypto stream on Sunday. So take care. And I'm going to be messaging you very shortly, Danny. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks for coming. And Bitcoin to 69,000.